Welcome back to Reddit Rocky, where the wildest Reddit stories come to life. From family betrayals to relationship chaos and moral dilemmas that'll leave you speechless, today's compilation has it all. Sit back, because we're diving into 22 real stories that'll have you saying, no way that actually happened. Let's get into it. Story 1.
My ex's fiancé demanded to take my 6-year-old out alone before I'd ever met her. When I said no, she blamed me for their breakup. I'm 27F, and I have a 6-year-old with my ex, who's 29M. We've been broken up since our child was 1. I have primary custody, and he sees our kid 2 weekends a month. That's all he wanted. He said giving up his weekends would be enough, because he didn't want to lose his life to parenting. And even with that schedule, he sometimes cancels last minute. 3 years ago, he started dating someone new, and earlier this year, they got engaged. That's when things got weird. Suddenly, I started getting calls and texts from an unknown number, someone demanding that I answer the phone and call her back. It turned out to be his fiancée. My ex had apparently told her I'd be fine with her taking my child out for the day. He even gave her my number without saying a word to me. When I finally picked up one of her calls, she was acting like it was all settled, that she'd just come get my child for a day out. I told her absolutely not. I didn't know her, I'd never met her, and she wasn't taking my child anywhere. I told her to make the most of the time my ex already had. That didn't go over well. She started sending messages through our co-parenting app, using my ex's account to pressure me into saying yes. My ex told me I was saying no too much and that I was ruining his relationship. It gets worse. Last month, his fiancée ended things. She sent me a text saying I made her feel unwelcome and treated like a stranger toward the child she was supposed to be the stepmom of. My ex then accused me of sabotaging his relationship, that I chased her away. I told him I didn't care about his love life. What I cared about was some stranger thinking she had the right to show up and take my kid. And I reminded him he's the one who made her think that was okay. Now he's telling everyone I broke them up. Some of his friends have even said things when they see me, but honestly, most people know he's barely involved anyway. The only person who sided with him was a mom friend in my group. She told me I did sabotage things, that I should have let his fiancée take my kid since she was trying to build a relationship. She said most single moms would be grateful for someone who wants to care for their child, and accused me of letting my ego get in the way. I told her if someone she didn't know started demanding to take her kid out alone, she'd say no too. She disagreed, and it turned into a small argument. So now I'm wondering, would you ever let your ex's new partner take your kid out before even meeting them? Or would you draw the line like I did? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She's practically a stranger, and he really thought you'd just hand your child over to her? OP's response, exactly, she was a stranger. We'd never met, and she didn't even identify herself in those calls or texts. For all I knew, it could have been a random scammer trying to get to my kid. Commenter 2, downvoted comment. You're wrong here. It sounds like you used your child to get back at your ex and tried to block a stepmom figure because you felt threatened. That insecurity is on you, not him. I went through something similar. My ex wasn't very involved until he got into a stable relationship, and I supported any time he and his now wife wanted time with our kids. They're adults now and have strong bonds with both of us, plus a healthy relationship with their stepmom. It took him time to grow into fatherhood, but my kids needed him just as much as they needed me. OP's response, he wasn't asking to see our child himself, he was asking me to let his fiancée take our child for the day. Every message was about what she wanted, not him. He never once asked for extra time or offered to be there too. In fact, he kept saying our kid would be fine going out with just her, like that was supposed to make it okay.
Story 2. I woke up at 2 a.m. and caught my sister and her boyfriend half naked on my kitchen counter. I'm 31 and live alone. My place is small, but spotless, smells good, everything in order. I take pride in it. A few weeks ago, my younger sister, who's 27, asked if she and her boyfriend could stay for a few days while their apartment was being fumigated. I said yes, family's family. The first night was fine. The second night, I woke up around 2 in the morning because I heard something in the kitchen. At first, I thought they were just getting food. But then I heard noises. Not talking. Not cooking. The kind of noises that make your stomach drop when you realize what's happening. I walked out and found them half naked on my kitchen counter, the same one where I eat, where I make my coffee every morning. They froze. He laughed. And my sister just said, "We thought you were asleep." That's when I completely lost it. I told them to get dressed and get out. They argued that it was natural, that I was overreacting, that everyone does it. I told them I don't care if everyone in the world does it, not in my home, not on the counter where I prepare food. They left that night. But the next morning, my mom called me crying, saying I humiliated my sister and kicked her out like an animal. I told her they were acting like animals. Now the family group chat's on fire, half think I went too far, the other half say they would have done worse. I scrubbed that counter for an hour and still can't bring myself to touch it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You actually did handle it privately, your sister's the one who dragged the whole family into it. You're not in the wrong here. Commenter 2. It's honestly so disrespectful to do something like that in someone else's home. That kind of thing should be kept to your own space. Commenter 3. I'd never let them stay with me again either. What they did was completely out of line, and laughing about it afterward just proves they don't feel even a little bit ashamed. Love Reddit stories? Hit subscribe and come back daily for more. Story 3.
My husband forgot my birthday completely, and when I said it hurt, he threw the candy bar I bought him in the trash and told me I destroyed him. I, 45F, had my birthday last Wednesday. I've been with my husband, 56M, for 7 years, and birthdays have always been special to me. I like to make my family feel celebrated. For my son, I decorate his room at night so he wakes up surrounded by balloons and love. For my husband, I set out his gifts and cards before he wakes up, bake or cook his favorite meal, or take him out, whatever he wants. I make sure his day feels special. He's always done something for me, too. Usually there's a card, a cake, a small gift, nothing extravagant, but it's thoughtful. Except this year. Nothing. No happy birthday in the morning, no mention all day. That evening, while we were chatting about work, I finally asked if he knew what day it was. He froze, realized, and said he'd forgotten. He gave me a hug and said he'd get me a gift. I told him that was okay, but I was honest. I said it hurt that he didn't think of me. That was it. I didn't yell or guilt trip him. Just told him it hurt. He immediately shut down and went to lie down. I went for a walk instead, crying in the rain like an idiot, because I didn't want my son to see me upset. I felt so small. So pathetic for caring this much. Since that night, he's barely spoken to me. I haven't mentioned my birthday again, I just kept going with the week, taking care of our family like always. This morning, I ran an errand before work and brought back his favorite candy bar, like I always do. When he saw it, he asked if it was for him. I said yes. He looked me in the eye, threw it straight in the trash, and left for work. When he came home later, he told me that I destroyed him by saying I was hurt that he forgot my birthday. He said that I should have reminded him, that it's my fault because I didn't give him a heads up. I just stood there speechless. I remember thinking, I don't need a reminder for his birthday. I plan his gifts weeks in advance because I care. So now I'm wondering, am I really the problem here for not reminding my husband that my own birthday was coming up? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. If it destroyed him that much, why did he make things worse by acting so cold for the rest of the week? That's incredibly manipulative, turning his mistake into your fault and punishing you just for having feelings. You're not in the wrong here. Commenter 2. This is such a classic move from someone who refuses to take responsibility. He's trying to condition her to stay quiet and never express her feelings. It's honestly so selfish. Commenter 3. What an absolute child. He's really trying to twist this around and make it your fault, which is just awful. You're not in the wrong at all. He's a grown man and should act like one. You clearly put your family first and even brought him his favorite candy after being completely disrespected, and he still played the victim. Unreal.
Story 4. My stepmom called herself our custodial parent and my mom our birth giver on social media, so I showed up in her live with photos proving her story was a lie. A few months ago I, 17M, found out my dad's wife had a social media account where she called herself a custodial stepmom who was mistreated by the kids she raised and our so-called birth giver. She told stories about how we supposedly abandoned her to run back to our mom, who she called our birth giver, and said none of us ever appreciated her. She claimed she had raised us since we were toddlers because dad was the custodial parent when she met him, that she became a stay-at-home mom, and that she treated all the kids the same. According to her, we didn't even know what our mom looked like until I was 13 and looked her up online. She posted Q&As for other step-parents, shared details about us, and even uploaded a photo of my younger brother without his face blurred. Then she told this big story about us supposedly running away to our mom's house multiple times until the courts gave up and let us live with our birth giver. That's completely false. In reality, our parents always shared custody, and mom had us more often because dad worked out of town 5 days a month. Dad's wife has never been our primary parent. Even when dad was gone, she wasn't the one taking care of us full time, and she never did all the things she claims. We never had a good relationship with her anyway. She always had a problem with mom and tried to start drama, like being upset that mom wouldn't just let us stay with her when dad was out of town, or complaining that mom still had to use the co-parenting app to talk to dad. When I found her page, I went through her videos, saved them, and showed them to mom. Then one day she did a live, and I started commenting, calling out her lies and exposing her as a fraud. I even made my own page public so people could see photos of me and mom together through the years. That set her off. She got so angry that she made a threatening comment about my mom, and mom ended up calling the police. Dad wanted to know what was going on, and when I showed him the videos, he defended his wife. He said she hadn't hurt anyone, that she only talked about loving me and my siblings, and that it wasn't a big deal. After everything blew up, me and my siblings started living full-time with mom. But my dad's wife said I had no right to intrude on her private space, even though it was a public account, and that calling her out publicly was abusive. She claimed I did it out of spite. My dad's sister and brother-in-law even took her side, saying I only did it to humiliate her and that I should have had a private talk instead. I still think that's ridiculous, but it left me wondering, was I really in the wrong for exposing her? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're not in the wrong for exposing her lies. I'd honestly cut contact with her and with anyone who defends this kind of bizarre, attention-seeking behavior. There are plenty of great step-parents out there, but she clearly isn't one of them. You didn't humiliate her, she did that to herself, and anyone defending her is just as unreasonable as she is. Commenter 2. You're definitely justified, and honestly she deserved harsher pushback. The fact that she badmouthed the mother of her stepchildren and even tried to block basic communication between your parents through the co-parenting app says everything about her character. Commenter 3. She sounds unstable, and if it comes to that, your mom should take this to court and push for full custody. Your safety has to come first, so make sure to save everything as evidence. Story 5.
The bridesmaid spent 6 hours setting up my friend's wedding while the groomsmen got drunk. Then her rich parents expected us to clean up. I was a bridesmaid in my childhood best friend's wedding, and it ended up being the worst 24 hours of celebration I've ever experienced. She wasn't a bridezilla at all. In fact, she let us pick our own dresses as long as they matched her chosen color. My parents were invited too, and since we lived 8 hours away, I went with them and left my husband and kids at home. My dad dropped me off at a hotel the night before the rehearsal, and another bridesmaid gave me a ride to the venue. It was about 40 minutes outside the city, surrounded by farmland. The rehearsal lunch was on the lawn, and it was a full-on potluck. Not ideal, but fine. Then the bride told all 6 of us bridesmaids, "Don't forget to make yourself a plate for dinner and put it in the fridge inside." I remember thinking, wait, what? But I did it anyway. That night was supposed to be her bachelorette party. I thought we'd go out, or at least order takeout, but instead we had cold potluck leftovers. It was disappointing, but I figured, whatever, it's just one night. Then came the real surprise. The bride announced that we needed to help set up everything for the next day: tables, chairs, bouquets, food prep, ironing tablecloths, you name it. For 6 straight hours, we worked non-stop. I was in a mini dress and heels, sweating, hauling furniture, and burning my back ironing. Meanwhile, her fiancé and his buddies left right after rehearsal to get drunk at their hotel. Not a single ounce of help from them. By 8 p.m., we were exhausted, but we shared a single bottle of champagne and tried to laugh it off. The morning of the wedding was chaos. The other bridesmaids didn't know how to do their hair, so I ended up styling 4 of them before rushing to do my own. The bride had a professional hair and makeup team, of course. If she'd offered, I would have paid to have mine done too, but that wasn't even an option. The ceremony went fine, but I was emotionally done by that point. At the reception, they had a barbecue truck for food, it was forgettable, and a bar where we had to pay for our own drinks. No big deal, until I noticed the groomsmen getting free drinks all night. Turns out, her husband paid for their open bar. By now, the groomsmen were loud, drunk, and killing the vibe. The bridesmaids and I tried to enjoy ourselves, but the whole thing felt off. Finally, the night ends. A limo pulls up, and the bride is stunned. It was a surprise from her parents. She tells me, they paid for everything. They're actually really wealthy. That was my breaking point. Her parents could easily afford to pay for catering, staff, or help, but instead, we spent hours working like hired hands. The bride and groom left in the limo, and her parents turned to us and said, "All right, everyone, time to clean up." Nope. I was done. The groomsmen disappeared, and the other bridesmaids were too tired to argue. My parents had arrived by then, so I packed up and left with them. It was hands down the worst wedding I've ever been part of. She's still married, but her husband turned out to be as awful as I suspected. When they visited once, he kept pulling my dog's tail, over and over, until I told him to stop. That sealed the deal for me. We barely talk now. Maybe a birthday text once a year. But that wedding showed me exactly who she'd become, and who she married. If you can afford help on your special day, don't make your friends do all the work. It's not fair, and it's not friendship. Would you have stayed to help clean up, or left like I did? Edit. No, we're not really friends anymore. I might text her happy birthday, but that's it. At first, I blamed her parents for being cheap, but I realize now it was her choice to make her bridesmaids do everything. And yes, pulling my dog's tail was the final straw. My kids were so upset seeing it happen. Sadly, that dog passed away recently, and while I know it's irrational, I still blame her husband in some twisted way. Her parents didn't give her leftover money or anything, they're just extremely stingy. And no, I'm not AI. I'm just a regular woman who likes Pinot Gris and needed to get this story off my chest. I couldn't leave earlier because the venue was out in the middle of nowhere. My parents dropped me off, and I rode with another bridesmaid, so I was stuck. I told myself it was just one day, and I could survive it. As for the potluck, I stuck to some dry mac and cheese, a few veggies, and a brownie. Anything with mayo or meat was a no-go, I didn't want to risk getting sick. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I can't believe she made the bridesmaids handle all the work while the groomsmen got free drinks. That's unbelievably rude and unfair. Commenter 2. Reading it stressed me out and I wasn't even there. I can't imagine how exhausting that must have been for all of you. Commenter 3. The fact that the bride actually told everyone the groomsmen had an open bar while the bridesmaids didn't is unbelievable, and bragging that her parents were loaded somehow made it even worse.
Story 6.
I went to my boyfriend's family dinner thinking we were still together. Turns out, everyone else but me knew we'd already broken up. My boyfriend and I had been together for about 2 years, but things had been rough lately. We'd argued a few times, and he said he needed space. I figured it was just a short break since we still texted now and then. We never said we were done. Then one afternoon, his mom texted me saying she was having a small dinner and I was welcome to come. She's always been kind to me, so I thought maybe it was her way of easing the tension or showing there were no hard feelings. I even baked a cake to bring. When I arrived, things felt off. His parents greeted me politely, but there was this awkward tension in the air. His dad even said, "Oh, you're here?" in this surprised tone. I brushed it off, thinking maybe they didn't expect me to show up. Halfway through dinner, his mom started talking about how breakups can be blessings in disguise, and how proud she was that both of us handled it like adults. I just sat there, confused, trying to make sense of what she meant. Then my boyfriend quietly said, "Mom," and turned to me with this guilty look. In a low voice, he said, "I thought you knew we were over." That's when it hit me. He told his family we'd broken up weeks ago. And never bothered to tell me. I was sitting there like a total fool, in front of everyone, with a homemade cake and a smile. I didn't make a scene. I just said I wasn't feeling well, got up and left. Later that night, he texted me saying he didn't think I'd take it so personally, and that it was all just a miscommunication. His mom even sent me a message apologizing, saying she hadn't realized we were still together and hoped I wasn't too embarrassed. It was humiliating, but at least now I know exactly where I stand. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He told his parents but couldn't tell you? That's not a mix-up, that's him being a coward. It's so weird. He knew you were going to be there. What was his plan? Was he hoping his parents would do the dirty work for him, or does he really think you can break up with someone without actually saying it? Commenter 2. It makes zero sense that his parents would invite you to a family dinner if they really thought you two had broken up. That's just weird. You handled it perfectly though, stayed calm, kept your dignity, and left without making a scene. Commenter 3. You're not the problem here. It's crazy his mom invited you knowing you'd broken up, then acted weird about it. And his "I thought you knew" excuse? Please. You'd still be justified even if you tossed the cake in his face.
Story 7.
My ex couldn't be bothered to show up for custody exchange, so he sent his new girlfriend to collect our 3 children. I'd never even met her. Follow Reddit Rocky for daily stories. My ex-husband, 35M, and I, 33F, have 3 kids together. We divorced 5 months ago, and honestly, things were going surprisingly well. We had a solid custody agreement, we met halfway every weekend, and he actually seemed to be keeping up his end of things. Until last weekend, and that's when everything changed. When I pulled into our usual meeting spot, a gas station near my house, I noticed his car parked in a different area than usual. No big deal, at first. But when I pulled up next to it, I realized he wasn't even there. Instead, there was a random woman sitting in the driver's seat. I had never seen her before in my life. So I rolled down my window and asked if she knew my ex. She said yes, apparently, she's his new girlfriend. Turns out my ex didn't feel like driving that day, so he decided to send his new girlfriend, a complete stranger to me, to come pick up our children. That's when my stomach dropped. I called him immediately and asked why he thought it was okay to send someone I didn't know to take our kids. He just brushed it off, saying she's a great person, wouldn't hurt a fly, all that nonsense. But I told him point blank, as a mother, I wasn't comfortable handing over my kids to someone I'd never met. If he wanted to see them, he should have shown up himself or come to my home like an adult. He started yelling that I was being unfair, that I couldn't do this to him, but I stood my ground. So yeah, I took the kids home. And now I'm being called a bad person for it. But honestly, I don't care. It gets worse, people are actually telling me I should have just let my children leave with a stranger because she's his girlfriend. No. Absolutely not. I'm not allowing him to see our children, either. Update. I've already spoken with my lawyer, and we're reviewing the situation to make sure he doesn't try this again. I'm not trying to punish him, I'm protecting my kids. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. You did the right thing, no responsible parent would hand their kids over to someone they've never even met. Commenter 2. He only gets the kids once a week and still couldn't be bothered to pick them up himself? You were 100% right not to let some random woman take them. No good parent would let their kids go with a stranger. He was just being lazy and didn't respect your agreement. Commenter 3. You should talk about the fact that he let your kids be around a woman you don't even know. Custody agreements sometimes have rules about that kind of thing. Check yours closely to see if it mentions anything about introducing new people or letting someone else handle the kids.
Story 8.
My dad excluded me from family nights and never came to my recitals, then told me to call him by his first name once I found out he's not my biological father. I'm 16F and I always wondered why my dad treated me differently from my siblings, 15F, 12M, and 11M. Even though my sister and I are barely a year apart, he was her biggest supporter. He showed up to all her plays, encouraged her hobbies, and cheered her on when she needed it. He does the same for my brothers. But he never came to any of my recitals, never cared about the things I liked, and whenever I went to him for comfort, he brushed me off. He spoiled my siblings with toys and candy, but never me. When my mom wasn't home, he'd either send me to a friend's or relative's house, or he'd do movie and game nights with my siblings while telling me to stay in my room. I cried to my mom many times about it. She told me he treated me that way because we were too alike and we butted heads. But I never fought with him, I never even got the chance. A few months ago, a relative told me the truth, he isn't my real dad. Back then, my mom was seeing him and my biological dad at the same time. He knew about it and said he wouldn't share her, so she chose him. When she found out about me, he said she could keep me, but if I wasn't his, he wanted a child of his own. They did a DNA test, I wasn't his, and that's why my sister was born so close to me, because of that promise. After I saw proof, I confronted my parents. He told me now that I know, I should start calling him Drake instead of Dad. My mom wasn't relieved at all, she just wanted to know who told me. She asked me every day, sometimes multiple times, trying to figure out which relative said something. I refused to tell her. Even if it was behind her back, I'm glad I found out. It also came out that I don't have a college savings like my siblings. Drake told me he doesn't want me staying a day past my 18th birthday. He said I was never his, he never loved me, and he wants at least 1 year of just his family. All my mom cares about is finding out who told me. She even tried to ground me for not saying. She keeps telling me that whoever spoke up is terrible because they encouraged me to keep secrets from her. But honestly, I'm grateful I know the truth. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your mom and stepdad are the real problems here. She's only angry because her secret came out, not because of how you've been treated. At least now you finally understand why things were the way they were. If possible, lean on grandparents, an aunt, or even the relative who told you the truth to support you while you finish school. That might upset your mom, but it will get you out of a toxic situation. Commenter 2. Tell your relatives everything, what life has been like, how you've been treated, and what's happening now. Make sure they know you're the only one without a college fund and that you're being pushed out at 18 so he can have just his family. With any luck, your family will be shocked enough to step in, whether that's helping with school or giving you a place to stay when the time comes. Commenter 3. I'm really sorry your mom stayed with someone who treated you so poorly and refused to give you the love you deserved. Your stepdad is awful for taking out his issues on an innocent child. I hope the rest of your family steps up for you, and that you find people you can truly count on. Wishing you nothing but success moving forward.
Story 9. I was just trying to return someone's lost purse when she looked me up and down and said ew while her friends laughed, so I dropped it and left. While I was on leave from deployment, I met up with some friends and cousins for a night out. It had been over a year since I'd seen them, and we just wanted to relax, grab some drinks, and catch up. At the club, I noticed a woman in her mid-20s who'd left her purse next to us. It was a high-end one, the kind with a custom sunflower design, so I figured I should give it back before someone took it. When I walked up to her to return it, she looked right at me and said, "Ew." Her friends started laughing. I froze. I felt humiliated. My face burned, and before I could stop myself, I dropped the purse on the floor and told her off. I'll admit, my eyes welled up a bit. I just wanted to go home. Growing up, I've always struggled with self-esteem. I'm 5'7", work out, but I still don't feel confident sometimes. It gets worse, my cousin saw the whole thing. She's like an older sister to me and could tell something was wrong. After I told her what happened, she marched right up to that group and called them out. She even gave one of them my Instagram, asking for an apology later. We left the club after that, and I tried to forget about it. Until a few days later when I saw a message request. It was from that same girl, a long apology and a thank you for trying to return her purse. I didn't respond. The apology didn't really make me feel better. Looking back, I wish I'd just handed it over and walked away, but in that moment, I was hurt. Would you have accepted her apology, or ignored it like I did? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She probably assumed you were going to hit on her and tried to look cool in front of her friends, but it just made her look bad. You handled it well, just ignore the DM and move on. Not worth your time. Commenter 2. As a woman who's been around long enough to recognize that kind of behavior, I don't blame you at all for how you reacted. She assumed you were hitting on her and decided to humiliate you for no reason. That kind of cruelty says everything about her and her friends. You didn't deserve that. Commenter 3. You only reacted to how she treated you. You still tried to do the right thing by giving her purse back, and at least she had the decency to apologize once she was sober. Story 10.
I refused to go to my friend's wedding after she dropped me as maid of honor because of my looks. Follow Reddit Rocky for daily stories. Sophie and I, both 27, have been best friends since we were 4. We're not the talk everyday type, but I've always considered her family. Her parents feel like an aunt and uncle to me, and our families are close enough that both mine and my boyfriend's families were invited to her wedding. My boyfriend's even her brother's best friend, that's how deep this friendship runs. So when she asked me to be her maid of honor, I was thrilled. I thought everything was going perfectly. 2 weeks ago, the bridesmaids and I went with Sophie to try on dresses. We laughed, took pictures, and actually found the ones we all liked. I thought it was a great day. But a couple of days later, Sophie asked to meet up for coffee. That's when she dropped the bomb. She said seeing me in the bridesmaid dress made her realize she didn't want me up there because she didn't want anyone comparing us. She said she wanted all eyes on her, not on me. I just sat there, stunned. I'd been excited for months, and now she was asking me to step down because of something I can't even control. I cried, right there in the coffee shop. I told her I'd never want anyone thinking about me on her wedding day. She's the bride, it's her moment. But she insisted it was how she felt. So I said fine, if she didn't want me standing beside her, I wouldn't. But I also wouldn't go as a guest when my presence apparently made her uncomfortable. That's when she backtracked. She said she did want me there, that she'd put aside her feelings, but she wanted pictures at the altar to be just her, and she wanted me to tell people I stepped down because I was too busy. I told her I wasn't going to lie for her, she was being selfish, and I didn't deserve to be treated like that after everything I'd done. I told my boyfriend, and he agreed I shouldn't go if it would just make me miserable. But my mom and stepdad think I'd be the bad guy if I skipped it. My mom said Sophie's always been insecure and that maybe I should just let her have her princess day. She says I'll regret missing it. But I can't shake the feeling that this friendship's been one-sided for a long time. I already paid for her entire bachelorette party, my bridesmaid dress, and even chipped in for her wedding jewelry. And now she's cutting me out because she's afraid people might look at me. It hurts, because it makes me wonder if she ever saw me as a true friend at all. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Try to cancel whatever you can and get some of your money back. This friendship is over. Commenter 2. The bride basically scammed you. She waited until you'd spent the money, then pulled the rug out from under you. Even basic manners wouldn't approve of what she did. Commenter 3. Make sure you let the other bridesmaids know that Sophie clearly finds them appropriately homely to stay in the wedding party. They deserve to know where they stand.
Story 11.
My mom demanded I use money from my late dad's parents to buy my stepsister a gift. When I refused, she threatened to stop buying my clothes. My dad passed away 7 years ago. Ever since then, I, 16F, see my grandparents once a month. They give me a little money each time, telling me to either treat myself or save it. My mom knows about it, and while I don't think she's ever been thrilled, she's never tried to take it, at least, not that I know of. 3 years ago, my mom remarried. Her husband has a daughter, and she just turned 6 a couple weeks ago. About a week before her birthday, my mom told me that since I'm 16 and have my own money, I should buy her a present, just like I would for a friend. I told her that wasn't how this worked. The money comes from my grandparents, and it's meant for me, not for her stepfamily. Mom didn't care. She said I should use it for my little sister. I said no. When the birthday came around, I didn't buy anything. My mom's husband got mad, and my mom thought I was bluffing until she realized I was serious. She said it was mean, that my stepsister has known me since she was 3, and she was hurt I didn't get her anything. I told my mom that if she wants her to have something from me, she can buy it herself. That started an argument. Mom snapped that if I'm going to have that attitude, I can start buying my own clothes and school stuff. I told her fine, then let me get a job, since she's always stopped me before. She said I already have money, and I told her that money isn't hers to control. That's when she started yelling that she's my mother and I'm a minor, and that gives her a say. She doesn't know where I keep my money, which is good. But she's still furious that I didn't buy my stepsister a gift. Was I wrong for refusing to spend the money my grandparents give me on my stepsister? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Ask your grandparents to help you open a bank account that's under both of your names. That way, the money goes directly to you, and you'll have your own debit card to use when you need it. Commenter 2. Your grandparents give you that money as a gift for you to use however you want. Your mom doesn't get to decide what you do with it. If she won't let you get a job, then she should be the one giving you spending money, not trying to control the money others give you. She's acting selfish and controlling. Commenter 3. Don't spend that money on your stepsister. If you do it once, your mom will start expecting you to pay for more things or buy gifts for everyone in her new family. That'll just reinforce her belief that she controls your money because you're a minor and she's your mother.
Story 12. My wife cheated on me, but now she's furious that I started seeing her friend. 2 months ago, my wife cheated on me with some guy she met while we were still trying to fix our marriage. Fast forward to now, we're separated, the house still isn't sold, and she's already posting pictures with him, holding my kids' hands like he's their new dad. Then a few weeks ago, I texted a woman whose kid is in the same class as ours. I'd actually met her once before, in our home, because my wife invited her and her kid over for a playdate. Back then, she told us she was single and had left her kid's father. That was all I knew. What I didn't know was that she and my wife had kept texting after that day. So, 2 months after the breakup, I figured, why not reach out? She seemed nice, we got along, and honestly, I just wanted to have a good time and move forward. But it turned into more than that, we both caught feelings. We tried to end it, but we couldn't. Then she told my soon-to-be ex-wife everything, that she had feelings for me and was sorry, but couldn't ignore them. And that's when my ex completely lost it. This woman has been spending every other week with the guy she cheated with, even told him she loved him 3 weeks after we split, but somehow, I'm the problem for liking someone she once called a friend. It gets worse, she's already rented a place with him, planning to move in together, introducing my kids to him like he's family, and posting photos all over social media. But the moment I find someone who makes me feel seen again, she has the nerve to call me the bad guy. So, am I wrong for liking my soon-to-be ex-wife's friend? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your wife is a complete hypocrite. Commenter 2. Your wife lost the right to have an opinion about who you date the moment she cheated. It's not her business anymore. Commenter 3. She is just hoping the guy she threw your marriage away for actually sticks around, so she doesn't end up looking dumb. But something tells me she's not that confident in his commitment, and she probably expected you to sit around waiting in case things fell apart. Story 13.
My ex-husband asked if his 2 daughters could start spending time at my house like my own daughter does. I said no, and now his whole family thinks I'm cruel. I'm a 34-year-old woman, and my ex-husband is 40. He has 2 daughters, 13 and 10, from his late wife. I've known them for about 6 years, but we're now finalizing our divorce, and we already have our custody arrangements in place. We share a 3-year-old daughter, and because she's so young and still confused about what's happening, we mostly let her go where she wants. Last Friday, he dropped her off at my place and said he wanted to ask me something. That's when he told me his older daughters wanted to come to my house too, just like our daughter does. I told him no. If they need something, they can call or text, and if it's really important, we can schedule a meeting. Otherwise, no. He looked shocked and asked why. I told him straight up that they've made it clear I'm not their mom, my schedule revolves around my daughter, not his kids, and I'm not taking care of 3 kids alone every other week. That's when things started blowing up. Apparently, he told his family and his late wife's family, because my phone started blowing up with calls and messages saying I was heartless. They told me that just because the marriage ended doesn't mean I can't still be there for the girls. I explained that I'd already offered to take them out one weekend a month, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., but they hung up on me when I said they couldn't spend the night. Then it got worse. On Wednesday, my daughter got sick and kept crying for me, so I picked her up early. When I got to his house, his daughters were waiting at the door with their bags packed, begging to come with me until Sunday. I told them no again, I'm not doing 3 school drop-offs and pickups in the morning. They started crying, saying I was being mean and that their family was right about me. That really stung because they've said plenty of hurtful things before, including reminding me I'm not their mother. So I told them I'm not about to make my life harder just to make them happy when they've made it clear they don't see me as family. My mom agrees I did the right thing, she even said she wouldn't help watch them because they've been disrespectful to her too. Now everyone's angry, and I'm sitting here wondering if I'm really wrong for drawing a line. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It sounds like your ex is just upset that you get a break every other week, so he's trying to even things out by having his daughters stay with you too. Commenter 2. Their dad is probably seeing someone new and wants the same free weekends you have. But his daughters aren't your responsibility anymore. Commenter 3. If those girls had ever accepted you as their mom, it'd be a different story. But since they've been disrespectful to you and your family, forcing that dynamic would just make things worse for everyone, even them. Honestly, it sounds like their dad's pushing this to either get a break or make things harder for you.
Story 14.
My boyfriend passed away last week after I was his primary caregiver for months, and now his mom wants to come into our home and pack up his things before I'm ready. My boyfriend and I were together for 6.5 years. Last week, I lost him after a short but brutal battle with cancer. I was his primary caretaker in his final months, and we lived together. I did everything I could to respect his wishes, limiting visitors, setting boundaries, and protecting his peace, even when other people didn't agree. Since he passed, everything's felt complicated. On the day he died, his mom took some of the personal photos we had brought from home without asking. I know she was grieving, but it still hurt that within minutes of losing him, I wasn't even asked about the things we shared. Not long after, she told me she'd be coming over to pack up his things. That hit me hard. We've lived together for years. Our lease is ending soon, and I'm the one left to handle all of our belongings while trying to survive this grief. I've already sent a box of childhood keepsakes and sentimental items to his parents, things I know he would have wanted them to have right away. But the thought of anyone, even his mom, coming into our home to go through our life together feels like losing him all over again. It's not about keeping things from them. I just want time and space to process it all. My plan is to go through his belongings myself, keep the things that represent what we built together, and then send the rest to his family. I'm not planning to hold on to anything they'd want. I just need to be the one who packs it up. I understand his mom wants to feel close to him, and maybe going through his things is part of that for her. But I was with him through everything, his pain, his fear, his final days. I just want a little time to breathe and say goodbye properly before I hand over the rest of his life. I don't want this to turn into another fight, I just want to grieve the man I loved in peace. It's already so hard knowing I'll have to leave the place we shared. I'm just asking to do this on my own timeline. Edit. I really want to keep the peace and make this amicable. I was his healthcare power of attorney, but I stepped back and let his family handle the funeral arrangements. They agreed that I'd take care of closing accounts, notifying his work, and things like that, since I knew the details best. I'm keeping everything transparent and documenting what goes to them. There are items that, while technically his, feel like ours: clothes we picked out together, souvenirs from our trips, concert tickets, things tied to the memories we made. Those are what I want to hold on to. I also want the chance to reflect on the stories he told me about his past as I pack up the things that will go to his family. I don't want conflict. I just need time to honor him and the life we built before everything gets boxed up and handed away. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're absolutely not in the wrong. She already took things from the hospital without even asking, so you have no idea what else she might take if she comes over. You also have to protect the memories you built in that space together. Once that's disrupted, you can't get it back. Go through his belongings yourself, set aside what you're ready to share, and then either ship the boxes or let them pick them up later. You can still be respectful while keeping your boundaries. Commenter 2. If your boyfriend gave his mother a key, you may want to change the locks to prevent her from coming over when you're not there. Commenter 3. You were his partner for over 6 years. She should be asking to come over, not telling you. You'll probably need to set some boundaries again before this is done. She's grieving, but so are you, and she needs to respect that.
Story 15. My ex-wife tried to pass off another man's baby as mine, and now demands I take her stepkids and new baby on vacation with my sons. My ex-wife tried to pass off another man's baby as mine, and now demands I take her stepkids and new baby on vacation with my sons. Follow Reddit Rocky for daily stories. My ex-wife and I, both in our 30s, had a brutal divorce. She was unfaithful, tried to make me responsible for a child who probably wasn't mine, and when she realized I planned to test for paternity, she ended things and then blamed me for it. She also tried to push for alimony and extra child support, but with 50-50 custody of our 2 sons, that didn't work out the way she hoped. She eventually remarried, became a stepmom, and had another child. Our sons are 9 and 11 now, and compared to their step and half siblings, they live very different lives. With me, they can do activities they actually want to do. They have a gaming room at my house, their birthdays are celebrated with friends, and this past summer we even did Disney and later another trip with my extended family. My ex and her husband can't afford anything like that, and lately they've been more vocal about the difference. She's been asking me to include her other kids in the things I provide, vacations, parties, even everyday experiences. I've told her clearly through our co-parenting app that it's better to keep things separate and that I'm not obligated to provide for children who aren't mine. Since the summer, the pressure's gotten worse. She called me horrible for letting the disparity grow and said I show no concern for the other kids. But here's the truth, they're not my kids, and my sons don't want to include them. Still, I'm questioning myself, am I wrong for keeping things separate when children are involved? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your only responsibility is to your kids. Teach them to stay humble and not rub it in with their siblings. They can still share what they do with you, just without bragging. You're not responsible for her other children or their feelings. Commenter 2. Offer to become the primary custodian of your boy so they aren't constantly compared to her other kids. It's not your fault or theirs that she and her husband can't provide the same. Maybe it's better if your sons just visit their mom instead. Commenter 3. Those disparities can be tough for kids, but that's something your ex and her husband need to handle as parents. They could use it to teach their kids valuable lessons. If your sons ever taunt or act arrogant, that's where you step in, but there's nothing wrong with providing for your children and expecting them to do the same for theirs. Story 16.
My dad's girlfriend keeps trying to make parental decisions for me, so I told him if it's fair for her to have a say in my life, then it's fair for my future boyfriend to decide his nursing home. Follow Reddit Rocky for daily stories. My 17F mom passed away 5 years ago, and for the last 2, my dad's been dating a woman named Ruth. She doesn't live with us, and I've barely spent any real time with her. Most of the time she and my dad go on dates or hang out when I'm staying at my grandparents' or a friend's place. I don't have a problem with their relationship, but lately my dad's been letting Ruth have a say in my life, like a parental say, and it's been driving me crazy. The first time it happened was when I asked to spend a weekend at my best friend's cabin. My dad said he needed to think about it, and later mentioned that Ruth had been against it. They only agreed as long as I called him 3 times while I was gone. I remember thinking, why is Ruth getting a say at all? She's not my parent. Then it happened again. My dad was going out of town and I asked if I could stay home alone for a few days. He said he talked to Ruth first, and since she didn't like the idea, he told me I had to stay with family instead. That's when I realized this wasn't just once or twice. He was letting her weigh in on every decision about me. Things finally came to a head when my best friend's family invited me to an out-of-state Christmas market this December. I asked Dad if I could go, and he said, "Let me talk to Ruth." I asked why, and he got defensive. He said Ruth's his partner and deserves to have a say. That's when I told him Ruth isn't my parent, she doesn't live here, and she shouldn't be deciding anything about me. He said I was being disrespectful and called her not some random woman. I told him that if he ever needs me to take care of him in the future, I'll find a boyfriend and let him make all the choices for Dad's care, since apparently that's fair now. That didn't go over well. My dad was furious and vented to my aunt, but my aunt actually took my side. When Dad found out, he got even angrier and demanded I apologize to Ruth. I said no. I told him I meant what I said. Ruth shouldn't have a say in my life, and I stand by that. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're almost an adult, and since Ruth's never been a parent to you, she shouldn't have any say in your life. How close were you to your dad before she showed up, and would you move out or go low contact if this keeps up? It might help to write him a letter explaining how his choices make you feel and what could happen to your relationship if he keeps ignoring your boundaries. OP's response: My dad and I used to be really close. Things were fine even after he started dating Ruth, but it all changed when he started letting her make decisions about me. I still love him, but if she ever moves in, or if he keeps saying she gets a say in my life when I'm 18, I'll move out and stop talking to him as much. Commenter 2. I love how you flipped the situation on your dad with the old age care example. He sure didn't like getting a taste of his own logic. Keep holding that mirror up to him, and don't let him guilt you. It's exactly this kind of behavior that makes kids turn 18 or 21 and cut contact with their parents. OP's response: Yeah, he really didn't like that one. He hates the idea of some boyfriend, even though it's the same thing he's doing with Ruth and he knows it. Just because I'm under 18 doesn't mean she should have any say in my life, especially when she barely knows me and doesn't even live here. I'm not dropping it, either. If he keeps pushing, I'll keep calling it out.
Story 17.
My dad sent me to live with my aunt at 17 after I finally reacted to years of my stepbrother's behavior. Now that my stepbrother has passed, he wants me to come home and apologize. I'm 19F, and grew up mostly with my dad as a single parent. My biological mom was never in the picture. When I was 10, my dad met Tina, and by 12 they were married. Tina had a son, Todd, who was 6 when I met him. He had serious health and behavioral challenges that made things very difficult. The very first time we met, he hurt me badly enough that I needed medical treatment. I begged my dad not to let them move in, but they did anyway, and he kept saying things would get better once Todd settled and got more treatment. Things didn't get better. I wasn't allowed to be upset because it wasn't Todd's fault, and I was told I should be grateful I was healthy and would get to live a long life. By 16, I was having daily nightmares and avoiding home as much as possible while being lectured for not helping Tina more or bonding with the family. The only adult who really saw what was happening was my coach, who set up private training sessions just so I could nap and get homework done in his office. Honestly, that's what kept me afloat. The breaking point came when I was stressed about both a regional track meet and an important school project. Todd was having a bad day, and Tina was trying to calm him. I went downstairs to print my paper when Todd grabbed my laptop and smashed it. I don't remember what happened next, but my dad said I completely snapped, and he had to pull me away. After that, Tina wanted me gone. My dad sent me to my aunt's house and said I could come back once I apologized and was ready to be part of the family. I said fine and ignored him for the rest of my senior year. It was honestly the most peaceful year of high school. After graduation, I joined the Navy, and it's been the best decision of my life. I finally feel good and have shipmates who are basically family. My dad kept trying to reach me, but I never answered. A couple of months ago, my aunt told me that Todd had passed away. I didn't go to the funeral, but I sent a card and flowers. Last week, my dad used my aunt's phone to beg me to talk. He said he's sorry for sending me away, that he felt stuck in the middle back then, and he didn't want us to be estranged. I told him he made it clear I wasn't welcome unless I apologized and played happy family. I'm not going to apologize for giving back 1/100th of what I endured, and I don't want to be part of that family again. If it makes him feel better, Aunt can let him know I'm still alive. But that's as far as I'll go. My aunt says I'm being a jerk, and Tina's sister even emailed me a long rant about kicking them while they're down. But honestly, I don't think I'm the bad guy here. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your dad chose his new wife and her child, not you, and he's the one who caused the estrangement. Whether you want to mend things later or stay estranged forever is your choice. With your aunt, try to remember she's in the middle. If you value that relationship, explain that calling you names won't erase what happened. As for Tina's sister, she has no place in this. Close that door and move on. Commenter 2. People love telling you to be the bigger person even when you were the one mistreated and pushed aside, but you don't owe them an apology or a place in your life. Your dad chose his new family over you, ignored the harm you endured, and then punished you the one time you reacted. That's on him, not you. If you want peace, cut off contact completely. He lost that privilege when he sent you away. Commenter 3. Your dad should have protected you, but instead chose his partner and her child over you. He's the one at fault, and your aunt should be calling him out instead of lecturing you. She's wrong for putting the blame on you.
Story 18.
My sister has 4 kids, another one coming, no job, and assumed my new townhouse was permanent housing for her family. Follow Reddit Rocky for daily stories. I'm 29F, and I have an older sister, Grace, who's 36. Growing up, Grace was always the favorite. She got all the good stuff while I got her hand-me-downs. She dropped out of high school at 19 to become a mom, and now she has 4 kids, with another one on the way. When I finished college, I started earning from a small outsourcing company. Over time, I worked my way up to becoming a virtual assistant, and because of the dollar exchange rate here, I make decent money, enough to live comfortably and even save a bit. That's when Grace and my parents started relying on me financially. It began with small things, baby clothes, milk, the occasional emergency, but then it escalated into me paying for baptisms, birthday parties, even the kids' tuition. Grace started treating me like her personal ATM while she went out with friends instead of finding a job. At first, I didn't mind helping. I was doing well, and I still had savings. But recently, I finally landed a contract with a housing company and got approved for a townhouse, small, but perfect for me to live alone. When I told Grace I wouldn't be able to send her money anymore because of my loan, she said, "That's fine, at least you'll give us permanent housing. I can finally move to the city and find a job." It gets worse. I told her that wasn't the plan, the house was for me. She immediately started yelling, calling me selfish and ungrateful, saying I didn't care about family and that I was money hungry. That's when I snapped. I told her, at least I take responsibility for my own choices instead of expecting others to bail me out. She burst into tears and ran off crying. Now my parents and half my relatives are furious with me. My phone hasn't stopped ringing with people telling me I went too far. But honestly, I'm done being everyone's bank account. Maybe I was harsh, but I finally stood up for myself. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Tell those distant relatives how grateful you are that they volunteered to take over Grace's financial support. She's all theirs now. Commenter 2. Setting boundaries is tough when you were raised to always put family first. It takes time to unlearn that, and even longer for your family to understand it. Commenter 3. You should have cut Grace off ages ago. As long as you kept funding her, she had no reason to change. You've worked hard for your success, you deserve respect, not to be used.
Story 19. My wife threw out my trading card collection I've had since childhood because I'm a grown man, then told me to thank her for it. Follow Reddit Rocky for daily stories. I, 35M, have been collecting trading cards since I was a kid. They're worth a bit of money, but that doesn't matter, they're a reminder of my childhood. I kept them neatly organized in binders on a shelf in my office. A few days ago, I noticed they were gone. When I asked my wife, 25F, who I've been married to for 2 years, where they were, she said she threw them out because you're a grown man, you don't need to play with kids' stuff. I felt sick. She didn't ask, didn't warn me, just threw out something that's been part of my life for decades. When I got angry, she doubled down and said I should thank her for helping me move on. That's when it really sank in. This wasn't about the cards, it was about disrespect. She didn't see any value in something that mattered deeply to me. It might sound dramatic, but I'm seriously thinking about divorce. I just needed to get this out before I decide what to do next. Update. 4 days later. First, thank you for all the support and messages on my last post. I didn't expect so many people to care, but it honestly helped more than you might think. I checked with the local rubbish collection service, but the cards are gone. It's not like she sold them, she really did throw them away. She doesn't have a gambling or drug problem, and we spend most of our days together, so there's no secret motive here. I've moved out of the house and told my soon-to-be ex-wife that I'll be filing for divorce. She didn't take it well. She admits she was wrong and calls it a lapse in judgment, but it's too late for that now. Some people offered to send money to help me rebuild the collection, which is kind, but I'm not accepting any donations. If you're feeling generous, please donate to your local homeless shelter instead. This will be my last update. Thanks again to everyone who reached out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She's not sorry, she just figured you'd calm down and get over it. Commenter 2. I'll never understand why some people think certain hobbies are only for kids. Let adults enjoy what makes them happy. Commenter 3. My wife used to throw out clothes I had that she didn't like. After she threw out one of my most comfortable shirts because she didn't like the pattern, I started throwing her clothes away, one for every piece of mine that got tossed. Suddenly she understood why it's upsetting for someone to decide things like that for you. Story 20.
6 years ago, my twin brother died in a massive freeway accident, and my boyfriend just accused me of having inappropriate feelings for him. Follow Reddit Rocky for daily stories. 6 years ago, my 32F twin brother Sam died in a horrible accident on the freeway. It was one of the biggest accidents in our state. My only comfort is that he died immediately. The police said he most likely had no idea anything was happening around him. Before he died, Sam was a huge social media user, mostly Instagram and Snapchat. I never followed him on Snapchat, but I followed him on Instagram. He made thousands of posts about his life, friends, family, music. He was an amazing singer. After he died, I would go to his account and scan through it. I mostly watched a few videos he made where he does a dialogue for ESL speakers. He taught English to ESL students for extra money. I'd often pretend he was speaking to me. I know it's not healthy to listen to my dead brother's voice every day, but it became a habit. A few weeks ago, my boyfriend, 36M, had been urging me to break free from this. He told me I need to move on. I did start. I would only watch one video, or even not use my phone until right before bed. Last night I went to check my brother's account and I saw that it was gone. I was upset. I texted my sister and she said she could still see his account. My boyfriend told me he blocked my brother on my account. I was annoyed but thought I could just go back to following him. But my brother's account was private and our family couldn't access it years ago. The reason he blocked him was because he thought I had inappropriate feelings for my brother, even implying something that made me sick. He's my twin. We spend every single day together. We went to the same university. At the time of my brother's accident, we were roommates. I loved my brother, but not in a sick way. My boyfriend never met him. He and I only started dating 2 years ago. After this, I don't know if I can or should continue this relationship. He keeps saying I should move on, that what he did wasn't a big deal. But it was to me. Our mutual friends say to forgive and forget, but I feel like I'm grieving again. Update. I kicked him out. I gave it a few days to calm down, but this was a breach of trust. He still thinks I'm overreacting. I've also cut ties with our mutual friends, they were mostly his. This made me realize I need to spend more time with my family. I've been chatting more with my sister. After Sam's death I was a bit cold toward her, but she's helped me a lot these past couple of days. Also, thanks to some amazing people online, we were able to get into Sam's account. I'm now the owner of it. Thank you all. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's disturbing that a grown 36-year-old man would do something like this, not some clueless teenager who didn't realize how cruel it was. Commenter 2. I'm so glad you kicked your ex out and got access to your brother's account again. What he did was awful, no one should ever treat someone grieving that way. But to do it to you, after losing your twin, and then to imply something that vile? That's beyond cruel. Commenter 3. That was such a disgusting thing for him to do to you. I honestly can't imagine what was going through his head or how he thought that would end well.
Story 21. I took my daughter to Disneyland Paris and her mom demanded I take her 3 other kids too, even though their dad excludes my daughter from everything. 10 years ago, I got into a relationship with a woman who seemed single in every way. No wedding ring, no husband on social media, nothing that hinted she was taken. I trusted her completely, and that was my biggest mistake. A couple of months in, she got pregnant. Then, when she was about 6 months along, she broke down crying and told me everything. She was married. She had 3 kids. I felt my stomach drop. My mom was unfaithful to my dad when I was younger and tore our whole family apart. I would never knowingly be part of something like that. I ended things right then. But a few days later, I couldn't live with it. I reached out to her husband and told him the truth. I apologized over and over, made it clear I had no idea she was married. He just thanked me for being honest and told me he thought the baby was his, because they were still together at the time. It gets worse. They went to therapy for the sake of their kids and decided to stay together. When the baby was born, we did a DNA test, and she turned out to be mine. From then on, we shared 50-50 custody once she stopped breastfeeding. Her husband didn't hate me, but he definitely didn't like me either. He kept his distance from my daughter, never got her anything, and didn't include her in family vacations. So I didn't buy gifts for his kids either. That arrangement worked fine. Until a few months ago. Back in July, my wife, my son, my daughter, and I went on a 2-week family trip to France and Italy. We even took her to Disneyland Paris. She's obsessed with Disney princesses, so she was counting down the days. But her half-siblings got jealous. Their mom called and tried to guilt-trip me into taking them too. She even offered to give me some money for it, but 3 extra plane tickets and park passes would have cost thousands. I said no, it was a family trip, and they're not my family. She called me selfish and greedy, but I didn't budge. We went on the trip, had an amazing time. And now my daughter tells me her half-siblings make her feel guilty about it. That's the final straw. I'm speaking with an attorney to explore getting more custody because she shouldn't feel bad for being part of my family's life. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Make it clear to your daughter's mom that if the situation were reversed, her husband wouldn't have hesitated to leave your daughter behind. She needs to accept that reality and stop guilt-tripping you. Honestly, I'd start looking into full custody. Commenter 2. How do they think your daughter feels when her mom and siblings go on their own vacations without her? This whole situation was created by her mom, and it's her responsibility to fix it. Commenter 3. They expected you to travel internationally with 3 kids you have no legal rights over? That's wild. I'm guessing they've never even spent a full weekend with you, but suddenly a 2-week trip overseas is supposed to make sense? No way. And since their dad never includes your daughter on his trips, why should you take the half-siblings on yours? Story 22.
I gave my friend free rides to work, but after she made me late every day, I left when she didn't come out in 5 minutes. Now she won't speak to me. I'm 23, and I drive a small car. My friend Tayana, who's 22, works near me, so I started giving her rides. We agreed she'd help with gas every 2 weeks, and for the first month, it was great, easy routine, no problems. Then she started running late. Every single time I'd text I'm outside, she'd take 10, sometimes 15 minutes to come out, occasionally even longer. I tried to be patient, but it made me late to work. My boss noticed once, and that was the moment I realized it couldn't keep happening. So last Friday, I decided to set a clear boundary. I told her I'd only wait 5 minutes because I couldn't afford another late mark. When I pulled up, I texted her here. She replied, 1 sec. I waited 5 minutes. Nothing. Called her, no answer. Waited another minute, tried again, still nothing. So I left. About 15 minutes later, my phone started blowing up. She sent a wall of texts accusing me of abandoning her and making her walk in the heat. She said she missed the first part of her shift and that I should have waited because that's what friends do. I told her I was sorry, but I'd already warned her multiple times. She said I was cold for not waiting a few extra minutes, and she hasn't spoken to me since. Now one of our mutual friends is saying I was too harsh and should have just waited to keep the peace. But honestly, how much can you bend before someone starts taking advantage? It gets worse when you realize she never even apologized or acknowledged she made me late all those times. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You warned her ahead of time, gave clear notice, and still waited a few minutes before leaving. You're doing her a favor by driving her, even if she helps with gas, it's still your time and effort. Things happen, but you can't risk your job because she can't be on time. Commenter 2. Real friends respect each other's time and make sure they're not causing problems for one another. You shouldn't have to risk your job because she can't be responsible enough to be ready on time. You were doing her a favor by driving her so she wouldn't have to walk, and she repaid you by making you look unreliable at work. Commenter 3. Good for you. It's great to help a friend out, but she's being rude and inconsiderate. You're not being too rigid, you set a boundary to protect your job, and you stuck to it.
Thanks for watching. If you love these stories, hit that like button, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for more Reddit drama.